I don't know what to think right now, but there's something seriously wrong with this offense through 2 games. Bears lose on Sunday Night Football, 19-13 on the road against the Houston Texans in a game where there is a lot left to be desired. Look, my head's just spinning right now. Forgive me if thoughts just come out really incoherently and kind of I'm jumping all over the place. Got a lot of thoughts. First off, can I just say I hate how defeated everyone it feels right now. Why us as Bears fans? Why do we feel so defeated right now? Like it's just the same old shtick, and we're in for another 3 years of pain before we just repeat the cycle. It's been 2 games. Calm down. Has Caleb Williams looked great? No. Is that okay? Yes, it's 2 games. He's played 2 games. Pump the brakes on giving up on Caleb Williams. Okay, he missed some bad passes. It's his second NFL game. Pump the brakes, folks. This is ridiculous. If we're giving up on a quarterback 2 games into their tenure, I don't know if we'll ever have a good quarterback. If we just expect greatness and this kid to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns every single game, we're just setting ourselves up for disappointment. We know that the offense is going to take a little bit of time to get working and functioning, because guess what? With a rookie quarterback, you got to be able to connect with your receivers. You got to be able to have that chemistry, be on the same page. You got to have an O-line that has to block. You got to have a good running game. There's so much that has to come together about this offense, and it just has not. And it really shows that Caleb Williams should have had more than probably 5 drives to practice in the preseason. As coaches, players, like the NFL coaches really need to start understanding the importance of the preseason, because guess what? If things are rough right out the gate for 3 weeks and you gotta have practice and basically it takes 3-4 weeks for you to get in a rhythm, guess what? That's what the preseason's for. That's what it's for. Use it. Oh my goodness. It's not just a throwaway game where you just put in your backups to see who gets the backup spots. Use your starters. And that's not just a problem that the Bears had kind of been proven to have, but there are several other teams that are having this problem right now. Start your starters. Play your starters in the preseason unless you're Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and you don't need to start that much because guess what? He's in year 6, year 7. He's at the peak of his career. He's just won back-to-back Super Bowls. He doesn't need to start in the preseason. But QBs like Caleb Williams, they need to start and they need to play substantial minutes, even if it is against backups. Oh, I don't want to reveal too much. I don't care. You're playing against backups. And obviously, considering what the offensive play calling was, they weren't revealing anything. Even if they played him the entire way, nothing would have changed. It was absolutely abysmal. Some of the worst play calling I've ever seen. And that's saying something considering Luke Getsy was our offensive coordinator last year. Luke Getsy! And he just won a game with Gardner Minshew as his quarterback on the road in Baltimore after being down 10 points in the 4th quarter. Make it make sense. It's games like this where you have all these new pieces on offense, a new offensive coordinator, new rookie quarterback, an addition in the running back core, 2 huge additions in the receiving core, a new backup tight end, and nothing changes. And the offense still looks this anemic. And it's games like this that make you think that a franchise like Chicago is cursed offensively. Because guess what? They sure as hell ain't cursed on defense. That defense played an absolutely outstanding game for the second straight week in a row. I don't understand. The defense played phenomenal. Considering the circumstances that they were in throughout the majority of that game, they played out of their minds. Huge tackle for losses. They stopped that running game where Joe Mixon had over 100 yards of scrimmage last week against Indianapolis. They stopped him dead in his tracks. The running game really couldn't get going today for Houston at all. And there were lots of tackle for losses, great plays from behind the line of scrimmage. They were stopping plays. There were a couple big splash plays from CJ Stroud where he was able to escape and make plays happen. And that's where the big difference was. This was one of those games where every score mattered. This is one of those games, not plays, where plays and big plays mean just that much more. A 20-yard pass in a game like this means 10 times more than in a game where the final score is 41-38. Like, this is huge. The Bears played well. I actually don't know how CJ Stroud had over 250 yards passing. It sure as hell did not feel like it. Caleb Williams almost threw for 200 yards passing. Again, sure as hell didn't feel like it. It felt way less offensive than what the stat lines show, because the defenses on both sides played very, very well. Yet again, it's the same thing that happened last week. I feel like I've seen this game 50 times since I became a Bears fan just over a decade ago. It's the same story. The defense plays great, holds the team under 20 points, as great Bears defenses have done and will continue to do. But the offense plays terrible and doesn't match the points, and the defense has to come up with big stop after big stop after big stop after massive play after big play, big play. Defense has got to do all of the work, and the offense can produce 13 points, 16 points. Like, at some point, yes, there's some improvements from Caleb Williams. Some, not a lot, but some. At some point, you gotta be able to help out your defense and put some points on the frickin' board. Now, do I think that Caleb Williams' career is over? Hell no! You know why? It's been 2 games! It's been 2 games! How are there people in Chicago already giving up on this dude after 2 games? What is wrong with you people? 2 games! Do you think the Packers gave up after Jordan Love's first 2 starts? No, they didn't, because guess what? They're 2 games! 2 games! And you're already trying to cast him aside? I know Justin Fields is doing all right in Pittsburgh. He hasn't played outstanding, but he's making plays. He hasn't turned the ball over. I don't care. It's 2 games. Give the guy a break. It is okay to make pretty much every excuse possible for a rookie quarterback who's playing in his 2nd ever game and is being thrust under the lights on the road against a Super Bowl contender on Sunday Night Football. Now, does all that excuse the poor performance? Not entirely. There were plenty of plays where Caleb Williams just showed that he does not have the chemistry with his receivers yet. He missed DJ Moore a couple times. Rome Odunze wasn't looking on the last play of the game on a 4th and 17, which was coming 2 plays after an intentional grounding penalty that Caleb Williams took after one of the 50 billion pressures that he faced in this game. But, you know, he was running for his life the entire game and could not adjust, because guess what? He had a pretty good offensive line at USC at times. There were plenty of plays where he could scramble for 8-9 seconds. He could get as much time as he wanted, and he could just fire a laser downfield, because guess what? When you're in the pocket for that long, your receivers are most likely going to be able to get open. That's not happening. Welcome to the Chicago Bears, where crappy O-line play has been the name of the game for 2 decades plus. Speaking of the offensive line, Nate Davis, garbage. Colton Shellman, garbage through 2 games. Darnell Wright, 2 bad false start penalties. Braxton Jones, a critical critical penalty late in the game. And another penalty, I think, earlier. Which, I mean, like, and they were getting pressured all night long. I don't understand, man. I don't get it. But, you know what? This is just smart coaching. You know, I'm boiling all this down to just smart coaching from the defensive coordinator for the Houston Texans. I don't know who it is. I don't need to know who it is. Because guess what? He did a great job. He found a formula that worked and just continued to run the same thing over and over again, because their guys are just stronger than our guys. Because when you have Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson on the D-line, you can rush and blitz all you want. You're going to get to the quarterback. Especially if somehow the Bears O-line just leaves Will Anderson unblocked for some godforsaken reason. Caleb Williams was sacked 7 times in this game. I mean, that's a huge reason to why they lost this football game. When they were able to get ahead of the sticks on, say, a first down, pick up 5-6 yards, they're taking a huge sack on second down. And it's because the Houston Texans were blitzing, I swear, at least once every 3 plays, and especially on third down, they were blitzing every single time. And guess what? Because they're blitzing and sending 6-7 guys, they're getting to Caleb Williams in -2 seconds, and he can't find anyone because guess what? There's pressure in your face in 2 seconds, and the pocket collapses around him. He can't run away. He's got to throw it away, and sometimes he's just taking the sack. He took 2 just awful sacks from his blind side because apparently they can't block and leave someone like Will Anderson completely unblocked on his blind side. And you can talk about the offensive line play all the time about how Caleb Williams just was pressured on like 80% of his dropbacks, I felt like at this point in this game. I can't fact check that, but it sure as hell felt like that. But you know what else also contributes to the fact where you can't get ahead of the sticks and you go out three and out all these drives, or you're struggling offensively, you can't get ahead of the sticks, you can't produce offensively, you're only scoring 13 points in this game. Starting series on 1st and 10 with a dump-off pass or a running back like sweep play where DeAndre Swift is getting tackled 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. They're throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage. What the hell are you thinking, Shane Waldron? I know you're trying to simplify the playbook for a rookie quarterback who's trying to get acclimated to the NFL game. You don't do that! Why are we throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage like 15 times a game? Isn't this why we fired Luke Getsy? Because that's what he did? Only to replace him with some guy who's going to do the same thing? What's going on? Well, now you might be asking yourself, well, Alex, why are you so upset when the Bears only lost by 6 points to a Houston Texans team that, most people would have expected them to blow them out of the water like 31-13 or 34-17, something, where they're going to win by multiple scores very comfortably. How does that, why are you so upset? Because the Texans just kept shooting themselves in the foot with dumb penalties, and the Bears kept getting opportunities, and they couldn't convert. The Bears defense was coming up with stop after stop after stop against this lethal Texans offense loaded with stars, forcing punts, forcing long field goals, which Kaimi Fairbairn was just phenomenal. 3 field goals of 50-plus yards. Absolutely amazing tonight. Huge reason why they won this football game. And, well, you tried. You did the best you could. That's a great offense right there, and you held them to 19 points. A competent team, a good team, would have won that game. A good team would have won that game. The Texans were constantly trying to give the Bears opportunities. The game was a 1-score game the entire way through. The only time it wasn't a 1-score game was when the Texans kicked a field goal to go up 19-10. The game was 1 score the rest of the way. The Bears were 1 drive away every single time they got the football. Virtually every time. I think there was 1 or 2 drives where they were down 19-10. But, still, they could have taken the lead at any moment. And they dared them to try and stretch the field, try and hit the big play. And they knew that because with the rookie quarterback and all these new pieces, they could not do so. Especially when you're rushing 7 on every 3rd down. And why would you stop? Because it worked every time. Look, I know I'm jumping around all over the place right now, but this is the way I'm thinking right now. I just can't stop jumping from one thing to another and trying to make it cohesive. It's just, there's so many things that have been rolling in my head since the game ended, because now I'm thinking, the defense played great, and I want to give as much props as I can to that defense. But the offense just looked awful, and it leaves a sour taste in your mouth, even though the defense was so good. And I'm trying to jostle these feelings, and I'm trying not to get too upset because, again, it's the second game of the Williams era. Who knows how long it's going to last if this is how he keeps playing. But then again, it's game 2. I don't expect him to keep playing like this. But, it's just, there's a lot about it that felt like the Bears could have had this game. But if you've watched the team for even 5 years, these are the games they lose all the time. They lose these games all the time, where the defense just comes up with stop after stop after stop, and they're playing great. Pass deflections, near picks, forcing incompletions, getting pressure on the quarterback. They're playing great, forcing punts. And yet the offense gets the ball, run, they lose yardage. Now you got to throw for the next 2 plays. Incompletion, sack, punt. And the defense just gets more tired and tired. And when this, and we've seen it several times, the Bears keep it close within 1 score for 3 quarters. And in the 4th quarter, because the offense can't do anything, the defense gets tired and lets up points, and well, there you go, there's the ball game. But again, I don't know how it happens. The Texans are gashing this team. They are visibly exhausted. And the Bears defense comes up with such a fluky play. They force a fumble in the red zone and recover to basically keep the game alive for Chicago. I mean, Andrew Billings knocked it out. And they fell on it. This game was over. And they saved the day for the 50 billionth time in this franchise's history. And again, another phenomenal defensive output. Another L for the Bears. I just want a competent offense. We haven't had a competent offense since Mitch Trubisky in 2018. Say what you want about all that. At least they could put up points. At least that offense looked competent. Trubisky had 6 touchdown passes in the game. I don't know if we'll ever see a Bears quarterback do that again. Mitch Trubisky at least put the Bears in position to win these games. And you look back on a couple of these games, and he put them in a position to win. Did they win all the time? No. But at least he didn't go down like, at least when Trubisky got the ball in the final 2 minutes, it didn't feel like the game was already over. Where I can tell you, if you've watched the Bears for even 5 years, when the Texans were forced to punt with about 1:40 left, and Caleb Williams was going to get the ball at the 20-yard line and get a touchdown, no one knew that. We knew that they weren't going to score. They weren't going to score. It was the easiest thing to call. It's like, okay, cool, they get a chance. Not going to actually score though. They're not going to actually score, but at least they get a chance. That's good. The fact that it came down to that is honestly quite embarrassing for Houston, because they should have absolutely crushed this Bears team, especially with how this offense was playing. Caleb Williams had 2 bad picks, 2 underthrown balls that probably would have been caught in college. Especially that second one where he, escaped the sack from Danielle Hunter, rolls to his right and throws on the run. Without Lassiter there to pick it off, that hits Kmet right in the numbers. But he's going to learn with that throw, that's not going to work in the NFL. And that's why, while that pick absolutely stinks throwing it into triple coverage, he's going to have to make these types of mistakes if he wants to learn. Because obviously, he didn't get enough time to practice that, in the preseason against the backups. Because they didn't play him for more than 7 drives. They look so bad on offense, but it almost Caleb Williams had a couple bad throws, yes, but it almost feels like there's just this reluctance to stretch the field again. Another offensive coordinator comes in here, after doing great things. Shane Waldron turned Geno Smith into a bum. Or, he didn't turn him into a bum. He turned Geno Smith from a bum and a journeyman into a solid starter in the NFL. To someone who won Comeback Player of the Year. To someone who was touted as just a trade piece just to give away to Seattle so we can get Russell Wilson just as compensation, to now better than Russell Wilson. He did a great job in Seattle. What has changed all of a sudden? Seriously, what has changed all of a sudden? Shane, why is the play calling so basic and boring? Why are we throwing all these passes behind the line of scrimmage? That's bad football. Now, I understand. That's what I really wanted them to do in this game. Simplify the game so that Caleb Williams can be able to deliver these passes on time and get some consistency going. That's great. Simple in routes, simple out routes, simple posts, curls. simple things where he can get the ball out quick. Doesn't help when he's getting pressure in his face in 1.5 seconds every time he snaps the ball. Because the offensive line cannot block to save their lives. I want to say that it's impressive that they were able to hold their own against a great team like the Houston Texans. But this one feels... I don't know why this one hurts a lot more than it really should. It really shouldn't hurt this much. I mean, this is just frustrating because now you got Indianapolis next week on the road where, I mean, at this point, you don't know which Anthony Richardson you're going to get. He did not look good against Green Bay today. And, but he looked great against the Houston defense, which, guess what? The Bears couldn't do anything against. CJ Stroud looked great against the Colts defense as well. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. Are we going to get the Anthony Richardson that's going to throw 60-yard bombs and be able to hit? With the Bears secondary, he really shouldn't. They shouldn't allow that. But who knows? Who knows, man? Again, all I want to see is growth. This is a growth year. And this is the growth portion of the season. If the Bears have any chance at making the postseason, they need Caleb Williams to go through all these tough games now. Like if they lose and go to 1-3, whatever. Because, by the time that they get to the divisional schedule, week 11, when they're at home against Green Bay, they're going to have to be at their best. Because at that point, you're playing 6 division games, and the 2 games that you're not playing in division are against San Francisco and Seattle. Your last 8 games are not easy. And by the way, Minnesota's 2-0 right now. Your alleged cakewalk game in your division is no longer a cakewalk. It wasn't going to be in the first place, but, it's definitely not going to be at this point when you see Sam Darnold throw a 97-yard touchdown bomb to Justin Jefferson. Look, we need to understand, it's only week 2. There's 15 games left. The season's not over. They avoided the 0-2 hole that is a death sentence to so many teams trying to make the postseason. They're not 0-2. They're not the Panthers who got crushed 47-10 one game and then go home and get crushed 26-3. They're not Carolina. This isn't the end of the world. We're not at the apocalypse right now. We have to understand that. While, yes, there are a lot of negatives, look at the positives, man. Defense looked great. Again. I genuinely think the defense is really good this year. And they have shown that. 5 takeaways in 2 games. That's just great. That's great stuff. Winning back extra possessions is huge. But, of course, the offense looks so bad that it doesn't matter. And we've seen this with so many Bears teams in the past. Just in the past decade, we've seen this so many times. Great defense, terrible offense, bad season. And that's the unfortunate thing. Because I implore a lot of people, especially after watching this team for 10 years, I've gotten used to this type of a game. 19-13, 17-14, 20-14. These types of games, I'm used to these. I'm used to every single score mattering. But, I try to advocate for defenses. But when it's this consistent, where your defense is just this good, and your offense is so bad to the point where you're losing not only more games that you win, but you're finishing with 5-6 wins, it shows how important offense is. If you can't get an offense going, then you're not going to win a lot of football games. This week in practice, they have to really be thinking about play calling. They have to notice things that aren't working, and they have to game plan for the team they're playing. If you're going to try and run the football against a team who is really strong up front, and it doesn't work, and you can't get it going, even though you consistently try, you're going to have to abandon it at some point and try your freaking hardest to work the pass game. If that means you're having to throw 4-yard checkdowns, down in, down out, because your quarterback can't buy any time, then so be it. But, you have to game plan. And this was poor game planning from the offensive coaching staff. Caleb Williams, of course, had his bad plays, but it's not all on him. And anyone who's putting this all on him and saying that we should just move on from Caleb Williams already, it's 2 games. Pump the brakes. It's not over. The season's not over. Caleb Williams' career is not over. It's 2 games. And that's, I think, what we all have to understand. One last thing before you go. I haven't mentioned this somehow. Azeez Al-Shaair. What a stupid idiot. And how is that not a flag? Like, okay, maybe the late hit wasn't a total late hit. You can argue that. But you can't argue the fact that he got up in a sea of orange, and instead of just walking away, decides to sucker punch Roschon Johnson with his helmet on and doesn't get penalized for it. So, okay, we are okay just sucking a guy in the face and not throwing a flag. I know they couldn't have thrown the flag because they didn't throw one prior to all of the extracurricular activity, but to they didn't throw a flag on the play, and I mean we all didn't see it until after the play and they showed it on replay. But still, the fact that you can't go back and eject him because he threw a punch because you didn't throw a flag, who said you can't? I mean, there's no way he should have been playing after that. There's no way he should have been playing. Refs gave him a little bit of a lifeline there, and he was a huge part in securing a Texans win. But yeah, that was kind of ridiculous. But I don't know. That was just ridiculous. But again, they had so many opportunities to make things happen that it almost doesn't matter in the long run. There you go. Bears lose. First game of the season they drop, which sure as hell does not feel like they're 1-1 right now. But you take it. You're 1-1. There are plenty of teams that are 0-2 that really should be at least 1-1. Yeah, this is tough. But at this point, brush it off. It's week 2. There's 15 games left. Move on to the Indianapolis Colts next week. As per usual, this video's probably gone on way too long, so I'm going to end it here. If you like this video, please give it a like. Please subscribe if you want to see more reactions from me. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.